Hey guys, Ray from loveyourrv.com. So I'm back with the second part of my review of the Safari ME off-grid system from a company called Lion Energy. Now, last week I reviewed the main box, the lower box here. Did a pretty extensive review, over a half-hour video on it. Lots of tests and demos and stuff like that. So I'll link back to that if you haven't seen that yet in the description. But this time I'm back to have a look at their expansion pack, which is the thing that's on top there. It's a 2048 watt-hour expansion battery pack that you can plug in, and also their solar system. So they have these 6 100-watt panels, foldable panels, and that hooks in and charges these boxes up while you're camping. So let's start first with the expansion box, and then we'll get to the solar panels and we'll do some charge and discharge tests. Then I'll come back with some of my thoughts. Okay, so we'll start with the expandable battery pack here. So you can see it's a little bit smaller than the main unit and not quite as deep as well, but it's basically the same weight. I think this one's a little over 45 pounds, this is 44 pounds. So they put some really strong handles on the top so you can lift it. It's a metal case and a metal frame and a metal handle that snaps back. So just like the main unit, it's mostly a metal case with plastic fronts. Not much to do on the front here, other than there's one button to check your battery level. Most of the interesting stuff is on the back here. Spin her around. There we go. So tucked in here is the cord that comes out the back, and that's going to attach into the back of the main box. And you can see that's a pretty serious conductor in there, gold plated, and there's also some smaller pins there for probably for communication, so it knows how much battery life is left. And then it's got this little catch in there so that it doesn't pull out, and also kind of a weatherproof grommet on the back, or probably keep dust out. But it does tuck back into there. It's the only really downside I found is this cord is so thick and heavy, it can be kind of a chore to fit it back in that little area. So this thing has a lithium iron phosphate battery in, which is really nice, same as what's in here, except this one uses cylindrical cells with a lifespan of over 2,500 cycles, charge cycles. But this one is using a prismatic cell, which is much like what's in their regular line RV battery, their 12-volt RV battery, and it has a lifespan of over 3,500 plus life cycles. So pretty serious batteries in here, very long life, very simple. So they're kind of meant to stack on top of each other. So what I'm going to do first is stack her up there, and we're going to do a discharge and charge test on it. Okay, I have both boxes completely empty. Got 0 hours remaining, 0%, and I'm going to plug in power to a household outlet, and we're going to see how long it takes to fully charge these boxes. It's kind of sort of calculating things here. It's kind of settling at 4 hours and 31 minutes. I'll come back, got my timer on my phone set, and we'll just see how long it takes. So we've been charging about an hour and a half now, and I just wanted to give you a listen to the fan. Because these things charge really fast, I think it charges pretty close to 700 watts. You can hear that it got some really good fan noise going on, because we have multiple fans on this side blowing air out. Just something to keep in mind. Okay, update at the 63% mark. Notice the fan speed has mellowed out quite a bit. You can see the add-on box here, battery extension. It's flashing 63, so it kind of tells you how it's doing. There we go, 63%. 1 hour and 48 minutes left, and so far we've been charging for 3 hours. Okay, we're getting near the end. 3 minutes left, it says. We're at 4 hours and 50 minutes of charge time so far. Well, there we go. That last minute took an awfully long time, but we're finally at full charge. It's hard to see here, but this battery says 100%. And total time was 4 hours and 58 minutes, 54 seconds. Okay, now that I have both these boxes fully charged, I'm going to do a capacity test, and I'm going to run this heater at 600 watts like I did when I tested this main box. In that test, I got it to run an hour and 20 minutes, and my kilowatt meter showed about 750, 760 watt hours it was able to put out, this box. Now with the addition of this 248 watt hour battery pack, I should pretty well be able to triple those figures. So this thing is in 600 watt mode. We got 116 volts there showing. It's drawing 4.84 amps. And it's actually drawing 563 watts. And this thing will measure the kilowatt hours that it puts out. So it should be a good load test. It's be comparable to what I did with the small box, so we can get kind of an apples to apples comparison. So while I let that run down, maybe I'll give you a closer look at the Line Energy 100 watt folding solar panel. You get 6 of these in the Deluxe kit, and they come in this nice padded case here. Let's pull it apart, give you a close look. So got a nice zippered case here to protect the panel when you're transporting it. A little bit of padding to it. Here's the panel itself. Nice glass rigid panel, and we also have aluminum sides here. The hinges are riveted right through the aluminum, and on the corners they have some plastic, just so things don't get, you don't scratch things with the corner, I guess. Nice rigid plastic. As far as the front catches, they just turn that to open very easily. Nice catch. And they're also riveted to the aluminum frame. And then we got a nice handle, spring-loaded handle, so it gets out of the way. And then that opens up like that. This part here feels kind of like plastic. It's all good quality, really thick aluminum. Looks like the outside is double walled. I'll give you a closer look at the internal parts here. See, they have some support legs built into the unit, adjustable supports. Just go like that, and then they have an adjuster screw here. That way you can line up the tilt of the panel to the sun, so you try to keep the panel perpendicular to the sun, and then you'll get better energy transfer. It's kind of a neat arrangement. And those will feel like they're aluminum as well, little plastic ends at the bottom, and then they're also riveted in place on the frame. Look at some of the specs here for you. 24 volt high efficiency photovoltaic module, model number, rated maximum power Pmax 100 watts, current at Pmax 2.85 amps, voltage at P amp max 25 volts, so it's the VMP voltage, and short circuit current 3.13 amps, open circuit voltage VOC 43.2 volts. So you notice here in red, this panel is not compatible with 12 volt systems, which means you can't use it on like a controller that takes a 12 volt input. If you have a solar controller that can handle these voltages, you're fine. But really they really set that up to work with this system. Same down here, we got input 24 volt only, max 700 watts. So you can see they have an input wire and then they have an output wire, and you can actually string up to 8 of these panels together, and you know the wiring can handle the current that's going to flow through it, which is kind of a nice plug and play system. You know, you can buy one panel and hook it up, and then you just can buy more if you need them and just keep stringing them together, kind of daisy chaining them together, and then they always at the end will plug into the box itself. There's also a 25-foot extension cord you can buy for it. And the connection they use is a Anderson power pole connector, they call it. And you got a nice little rubber cover on the end. So I've popped open the connector box here, and I can see it's plastic, and there's a small O-ring that goes all the way around it to keep the water out. So it looks like you can use these no problem outside. And inside you can see how the wire comes in and comes out. These are, I guess that they just soldered those. Those come out of the panel and they're soldered onto the connector. Extra little tabs. I don't know. And then we got some screwed in with some crimp connections there. A little bit of strings. Kind of looks a little not super high quality done there, but I guess it works. And same thing on the other side. So there's your input side, goes into there, feeds through, puts these along there in parallel. It's kind of paralleling these two panels together and continues on. So yeah, all the panels will basically be in parallel all the way along. But at 24 volts, you got a fairly, like double a normal 12 volt panel voltage, so you should have pretty good efficiency as far as current carrying capacity. Be able to use a smaller wire like this. Here's how the catch works. It's like that, and you twist it. Twist it a couple times, locks it in place. Fits right out of the way like that. I find a lot of these glass rigid panels are actually pretty strong. They rate them to handle quite large size hail and stuff like that, so they're kind of hard to actually break or crack. I guess if it fell onto a really sharp rock, there's a good bet it might actually crack the panel, but in my opinion, these are more durable than a lot of the flexible panels out there. They tend to more easily scratch and have problems if you bend and flex them too much. Inside, internally, they can be damaged, where these are a lot more long-lasting. So as far as dimensions, it's about 28 by 22 and a little less than 3 inches thick. And they do weigh in at 20 pounds. So they're not light at all, which in some ways will help if you have them set up and it gets a little bit windy or something. They're less likely to blow around, but you know, they're a little bit of a hefty load. Also, when you have the Deluxe kit for the Safari ME, you're going to have 6 of these, so that's going to add up to 120 pounds. So I think what I'm going to do, rather than carry them in the trailer or anywhere, I'm going to carry them in the back seat of my truck. Let's give you a look at them stacked in there so you get an idea of the storage space that you need for the 6 panels. So this is a regular sized crew cab truck, and you can see how I have them stacked in there. They fit nicely behind the back seat, but they do take up quite a bit more space than, say, these are some folding solar panels, and that's actually 600 watts of folding solar panels versus these 600 watts of rigid panels. Mr. Plane decides to fly over. Looks like a Coast Guard plane, maybe. Can't tell from my eye, but I'll look in the camera, but it looks like the big red Coast Guard plane. Anyway, that's a trade-off. I think you're going to have more durability, long-term use with those panels, but they're going to take up a lot more space and be a lot more heavier than say a folding panel type deal. Okay, just checking in here. This box shows 30%, 29% remaining, 1 hour and 22 minutes. So far we've done 3 hours and 22 minutes. We're at 1.9 kilowatt hours. And this box up here, I noticed it's just flashing 20% left. Okay, we're getting down to the bitter end here. I just want to check the voltage and current and stuff. So we're still at 116.8 volts, 4.85 amps, 567 watts. So everything is very stable on the inverter. It doesn't change much even when it's at a very low end of its capacity. And we're showing so far 2.61 kilowatt hours, so 2,610 watt hours. And it looks like we got about 5 minutes left, or 2% of the total battery life. And we're at the 4 hour and 38 minute mark. So I'll put the camera on a time lapse now, and we'll be able to catch when it quits and see what the wattage is. Okay, time for a solar charging test. What I've done is I've run the boxes down to 50% charge, and that'd be kind of comparable to how much energy we would use on a typical boondocking night. Usually I have 3 of the Line Energy UT1300s, and they're around 1,344 watt hours, and I usually find I use about 30% or so of our battery capacity during a typical night before it's time to start charging via solar. So basically that's what I've done here. Oops. Is I've run the box down to 50%. It should be comparable to that, and we'll just see how long it takes my 600 watts of solar panels to recharge us back to full again. So these panels are all wired in parallel. There's a wire that goes from that panel, out of that, into that, out of that, into that, out of that, into that. Kind of like a daisy chain of panels. Then it goes out my 25-foot cord. So it's very easy to set up as far as wiring. You just connect where it says output to input to output to input, and you're good to go. Here's a closer look at the cord. Anderson connectors on the end, and looks like this is a 2-conductor cable, but they've nicely wrapped it in an outer sheathy material, kind of a fabric material, which is a nice touch. And we've got heat shrink tubing there, and that simply plugs into the back here very easily. So we've got a beautiful clear blue sky, It's getting towards noon here. Got the panels all set up in the sun there. And then I've taken the box and put it under our awning here via the 25-foot cord, which is nice long cord, then you can protect your unit from weather. And we're just gonna monitor how long it takes. I'll start a phone there so we know the exact time. Just see how long it takes to go to full charge. Kind of give you an idea what would be typical. Just sitting here looking at the panels, and I noticed one advantage to having the heavier metal cased panels, especially with these handles here. You notice they're riveted right to the aluminum frames. So you could run a steel cable through the handles and back around through the handles and say lock it up to your bumper. Makes it a little harder for the panels to kind of grow legs and walk away. Okay, just checking in after about an hour or so. So far an hour and 35 minutes, and it says we have an hour and 37 to go, showing 75%, so we're about halfway there. And this thing is flashing at 80%. A little bit of fan noise. I think one of the fans is turning on. Out of the 3 that I can see in there, just the little one is going. Just over 3 hours now. Getting close, getting close. Buck says we've got 10 more minutes to go. Okay, we just clicked 100% full. And what do we got? 3 hours and 23 minutes, 32 seconds. And you can probably double that. 6 hours, almost 7 hours, just under 7 hours to fully recharge this box using those 600 watts of solar. So that's pretty good, because most days you'd be able to fully recharge this if you had a sunny day. Maybe not in the dead of winter where you only maybe get 6 hours or so of decent solar and the sun angle's low, but overall I think you could recharge this system pretty easily with most summer days. Just wanted to show you too, you could also be running a load on the AC here, and it's also able to charge through the solar. So it has what they call pass-through charging. You can be charging, feeding in with solar while taking a load out. So if you keep that load under the wattage, it'll stay at 100%. Okay, there you go. I'm actually pretty happy with the results. These boxes really charge fast, which is what you need if you're out boondocking for days on end. You want to be able to recharge your boxes each day. I would say if you had a smaller RV like a van or a truck camper or something like that, you could probably get away with the smaller box and just a couple solar panels. But if you have a large RV like we have a big fifth wheel, I think you would need the expansion pack and the full assortment of solar panels here to make sure you have enough energy. All depends on your energy use. Some people are pretty meager with their energy, but if you're like us and you want to power some computers and charge up cameras and watch a little TV, maybe hit the microwave once in a while, blow dry your hair, and then a big RV has a lot of kind of parasitic loads, so it can add up over the course of the day. So I think you'd be best to have the whole kit. Now the whole kit lists for around $5,000. Most dealers and affiliates and stuff will get you 15% off, and sometimes they go on sale. So somewhere in the low 4,000 range you could have the whole kit. Now people say that's pretty expensive, but if you start to go in, if you're not a DIY guy that can do all his own work and stuff like that, you're going to pay a guy to install 600 watts of solar, 2,000 watt inverter, a solar charger. The batteries being lithium, they're going to be probably 1,500 or 2,000 just themselves. So it starts to add up. You add in the fuses and wiring and all that stuff. Also, everything is now going to be stuck in your RV. If you sell your RV, you'd have to rip it all out. So I can really see the advantage of this system for people that are just looking for an easy way to get a really good off-grid system. And also you can take it home, use it as a home backup, use it in other ways. So I can see the advantages there. Disadvantages, you're kind of putting all your eggs in one basket. If that main box for some reason packs it in, you're going to have to send it back. So there are some cons. But anyway, I think next I'm going to use it about 3 weeks from now. We're leaving this RV park and we're going to go out in the back country of Vancouver Island and do some boondocking. So we'll put her to the test when we're out there, and I'll come back with maybe a kind of a real world video on this system. Anyway, any questions, just leave them in the comments below. Till next time, Ray from loveyourrv.com. Thanks for watching, everyone. Cheers, folks.